The leadership of President Museveni has come into sharp focus in the period leading up to his swearing-in ceremony, following the manner in which the recent walk-to-work protests led by opposition figures were quelled. The walk-to-work protests were launched a month ago to demand government intervention over the increasing food and fuel prices. However, the police, the army and other security agencies have brutally broken up the protests that have sometimes degenerated into riots. Foreign diplomats based here weighed in on the demonstrations and asked government and the opposition to work together for a peaceful resolution of the standoff.
We would hope that these issues are resolved in such a way that the public is ensured that these issues are not only affecting them but affecting everyone well-wise and could be resolved in a different way.
The government must allow peaceful protest and demonstration. If protest and demonstration turns to be violent, the government has got all rights to intervene. And what we say is that we encourage all parties to deal with political and social issues in a political and social manner, and violence does not come into the list.
Although government critics have questioned President Museveni's democratic credentials, especially in the wake of the walk-to-work protests, the dignitaries hailed his leadership skills and say that strand has been very instrumental in fostering peace and security in the region.
His policies have been very conducive in advocating for peace and ending conflict in the area and in the neighboring countries.
Certainly there is a strong convergence on the fact that the stability of this country, the peace of this country is a big asset, not only for Uganda, but I would say for the region.
However, Roberto Ridolfi, the new European Union head of delegation to Uganda, calls on the Museveni government to implement strategies aimed at advancing the country's economic growth.
I think we know that the country's economic growth is still not as fast as it should be. Now with inflation rising a bit and also with food prices, I want to say that food prices are not rising only in Uganda. It is a worldwide phenomenon, although we have to work more on that.
In the mid-1990s, a few years after President Museveni took power, he was praised by, among others, then U.S. President Bill Clinton, who listed him among a group of 3 he described as the new breed of African leaders. Other members of the Clinton new breed were Rwandan President Paul Kagame and Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi. The international community hailed President Museveni and his colleagues for introducing reforms that boosted the country's economic growth. And more recently, Museveni has received plaudits for sending Ugandan troops to Somalia to help pacify the war-ravaged country as the head of the African Union peacekeeping mission. And some people regard President Museveni's 25-year rule, the longest any Ugandan president has attained, as too long a time. But the president's admirers say their leader is still strong and brimming with brilliant ideas, so good that he can't simply be allowed to retire. Because they add, he needs to see the ideas to fruition. The jury is still out on how much time he needs to keep at the helm to do that. Chris Ochamringa, NTV.